Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Hockey Writers series previews for the first round of the 2026 Stanley Cup Playoffs. I'm joined with Ryan and Harrison, who cover the Canadiens and the Lightning respectively. How you guys doing? How you doing, Ryan?
Good. How are you?
Good. And you, Harrison?
Yeah, guys, I'm doing pretty good. Knowing that playoff hockey's coming has me very excited.
Yeah, it's always a fun time, and covering the Senators, it was a long run without the playoffs. Certainly missed it. Some FOMO there. Ryan, I'm sure you missed some of the years that. The Canadiens had a pretty quick turnaround, but not a fun time sitting on the outside.
They were great. What are you talking about?
So we'll jump right into things. Harrison, I'll ask you about the Lightning season. So throughout the 2025-26 season, the Tampa Bay Lightning had a couple ups and downs, mostly up, but they did start to slow down at some points. What are your thoughts on the season? What got them to the playoffs?
I think a lot of it had to do with either the fact they'd been there before and just some strong leadership. Like, look, this is a team that went through its share of injuries. McDonough was hurt for a while. Hedman was hurt, came back. He's still not back from what he's currently going through. A few guys were out for 8-10 weeks at a time. The fact that they had to overcome those injuries was a huge storyline for them. You had a pretty nice, solid season from Andrei Vasilevsky, who's now in contention for the Vezina Trophy alongside Ilya Sorokin and the New York Islanders. So I guess the big story is just how they found a way, and I think a big part of how they managed to do it was that scoring depth beyond the stars was a lot better this year compared to the last 3 years before that. You saw like Darren Radish step up. Dominic James looked really good for much of the season. Carl Dastus over on the defensive side had his moments on scoring, just to name a few, and it's really made a huge difference. And I think that's just been the difference between them being a team that gets there simply because they're supposed to and being a much more improved, true contender for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I mean, the Tampa Bay Lightning kind of have everything you need. They have the superstars, they have the depth, they have the defense, they have the goaltending. Like, they have everything you need. And then, of course, John Cooper, you have the coaching as well. The Montreal Canadiens, Ryan, are pretty similar spot. They have a very well-rounded roster. What did it take for them to get to the playoffs this year?
Well, honestly, similar kind of makeup as the Lightning. High tempo offense, good goaltending, at least down the stretch. Can't really say that for early in the season, but over the last few starts, Jakub Billington has similar record to Andrei Vasilevsky, so they've got that going for them, and just general year-over-year improvement, which has been kind of the hallmark over the last few years since they hit rock bottom back in 2022 with the last place season. Each year since, they've improved in the standings. Last year, they snuck in with 91 points in the last game of the season with a wildcard spot. And this year, they're at 106, just alongside the Canadiens. And it just kind of speaks to their young core. They started the season that with the youngest roster in the NHL, and that young core just continues to grow and develop with each passing, I'd say year, but it's really each passing game at this point. They're just getting better and better.
Yeah, and I mean, both teams have incredible offense. Like, you look at the Lightning, obviously Kucherov is incredible. Jake Gensel had a career year offensively. Brandon Hagel, always impressive. But then, like you mentioned with Darren Radish, he kind of came out of nowhere. And even in a year that Braden Point wasn't as productive as other years, they still managed to be one of the most dominant teams offensively. And then Ryan with the Canadiens, like Nick Suzuki, unbelievable 100-point season. Juraj Slafkovsky took a big step. Cole Caulfield got 50 goals. Lane Hudson, of course, from the point. So both teams are superpowers offensively right now. So is that going to be the biggest storyline heading into the playoffs? Or is there going to be, and I'll start with you on this one, Harrison, what is going to be the biggest storyline for the Lightning heading into the playoffs?
I think the biggest storyline for them at this point is just, can they start to get over that first round hump again after, you had those 3 years where they were in the Stanley Cup final, winning it twice, then out in the first round against Toronto, out in the first round twice against the Panthers. Twice they were out in 5 games. They haven't won they haven't been winning at home. They've been losing in overtime when they've gone past regulation. And they've been out muscled a lot in the playoffs last couple seasons as well. Can they turn up the dial? Can they start to push back? I know it's a new team with the Canadiens, but can they be a little more physical? Can we see more out of Kucherov and Hagel in the playoffs this time around? Is Vazzy going to still look like his Vezina self come playoff time? Are they going to be able to be who they were in the regular season? I think that's the overall storyline that really comes for them.
Yeah, they've been there, done that, most of them, and like having McDonough back certainly helps with that. And then there is some people who are kind of new to this. So like Darren Radish hasn't been here before, Gage Gonsalves hasn't been here before. So it'll be interesting to see kind of the balance between the veteran guys and then the newer guys in the lineup. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see if they can continue this momentum right into the playoffs, or because they went through that stretch. That's a lot of extra hockey. They played an extra season worth of hockey in the playoffs over 3 years. And so now they're back to kind of a normal tempo. So be good to see what they can do. What about you, Ryan? What's going to be the biggest storyline for the Canadiens?
The injuries, really. Noah Dobson got injured a few games ago. He's out for 2 weeks, I believe, and at least that's when he's going to be reassessed. At least according to reports. Alexandre Carrier got injured a few weeks ago, and he was slated to be out 2 to 4 weeks, and 2 weeks have passed, so he could theoretically be out for the balance of the first round. Who knows? So those two were the team's. In fact, they're only right-handed defensemen. They were forced to call up David Reinbacher, another right-handed defenseman, a 5th overall pick from a few years ago, who may or may not be ready yet. We don't know. To basically replace one of them, but like they're basically down all the right-handed defensemen. Although Adam Engstrom could play on the right side, but he's a rookie too, for all intents and purposes. So yeah, they're playing all lefties really, and just 2 rookies on the right. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, I know Victor Hedman might be out for the Lightning, but I don't know if the losses on defense are like I don't know if that the Canadiens have enough to overcome those losses.
Yeah, I mean, the Canadiens do have some good other options there. Like, of course, Lane Hudson's still there. Caden Gooley is still there. But it was really tough to send out 6 left shot defensemen. And are you going to throw Reinbacher right into the fire? I don't know. Engstrom, he had a pretty good season. He played quite a bit. Still a rookie. You don't want him being one of your top options on the right side. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what the Canadiens defense ends up looking like, because throughout the season they were great. They had a good mix of physicality. They were able to shut down like Carrier and Matheson, like good defensive guys. But then you get Dobson and Hudson who can just light up the lamp like no tomorrow. So be interesting to see how that shapes out and what pairings they end up running, because when you have 6 left shot guys, some guys are going to be uncomfortable in their spots. So we'll wait and see kind of how that shapes up. So Ryan, who's going to be the player to watch? Or maybe there's multiple answers to this, but who are you going to have a close eye on heading into the playoffs?
Oh, I think you kind of mentioned the top ones earlier on. Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, Uri Slafkovsky. That top line has been very effective for the Canadiens, and where they go, the team goes. That isn't to say that they don't have secondary scoring. Ivan Demidov, I believe, led all rookies in scoring this year with 63 points, I want to say, around there. And yeah, they have a relatively balanced forward group, but it's a steep drop-off nevertheless from that first line. And Caulfield having scored 50 goals, giving the Canadiens their first 50-goal score since 1990, and Suzuki their first 100-point score since 1986. They've got the explosive players that are sure to make this an entertaining series.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the forward group. The first line, there's no question about how dominant it is. And the fourth line, I mean, it's been a rotating lineup at points, but their fourth line is pretty good. It's usually got Josh Anderson, Jake Evans, and then whoever the third winger or second winger would be. The middle six has a lot of good players. It's not a super strong middle six outside of Demidov on the right wing there. Like Newhook, probably in a better position if he's on the third line. Oliver Kapanen, good rookie season. Still, second line center is a big role for him. Alexander Texier has been in there. So would like to see a bit more punch out of those guys. But, I mean, still, top to bottom, it's a pretty deep team. It's just that middle six isn't as strong as some others. Harrison, what about you for the Tampa Bay Lightning? Who are going to be the players to watch?
So as basic as it is to see, almost you're obligated to start with Nikita Kucherov, but there's multiple reasons to start with him. Besides the fact that he was in the scoring race for much of the season, he was arguably a Hart contender for most of the season, probably still a finalist, but how is he going to look come playoff time? I've emphasized this already. I'm going to come back to it. He has had one goal in the playoffs last 3 years, and that came back in 2023 against Toronto. So you're in 2 playoffs in which he hasn't scored a goal. Is he going to be able to get the offense going? I'm not really worried about Jake Gensel. He did his job last year against Florida when the team needed him. How is Darren Radish going to step up come playoff time? Because look, Hedman out for the foreseeable future. We don't know when he's going to get back. The notion pretty much is he will come back when he is ready to come back. And he will help drive. How's I going to say? Radish will help with the offense and the scoring depth overall because Dominic James is supposed to be back for the playoffs. He was out for the remainder of the regular season, but he's still working his way back. Even when he does get back, he hasn't played since late February, so we're not entirely sure where he's going to be. Holmberg is guaranteed to be out after his collision with the penalty box door. So whoever is able to – so having a guy like Radish continue to do what he's been doing as an offensive defenseman this year is really going to be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of guys stepping up. One player that I would be keeping an eye on is Braden Point. What level of play is he going to be bringing? Obviously, this has been one of his worst seasons over the last couple of years. Injuries don't help with that. And defensively, he's always been heavily relied upon. And he still did that job this year, but at a much smaller degree. And same with his offense. He still put up 50 points in 63 games, 64 games. 63. Still decent offense, but like on pace for a 70-point season, you want to see a bit more out of Braden Point than that. So he's the one that I'm going to be focusing on the most. You look at like Ryan McDonough, Andre Vasilevsky, you know what these guys are going to do in the playoffs. Don't have to be too worried about it. But yeah, I like that list that you brought. And it might be the same players, but who's going to be the biggest X factor? And it doesn't have to be a player. It could be the special teams. It could be the goaltending. It could be coaching decisions. What do you think is going to be the biggest X factor for the Lightning in this series?
I'm going to have it come down to the power play and Vasilevsky. The Lightning power play has struggled a lot this year, especially bad down the stretch. And in the playoffs, especially the last couple of years, it's been trouble. It has not been as good for them. So keep an eye on how they do with the man advantage. And of course, with being against a tough Montreal team, with the way Dobesh and Fowler have looked between the pipes the last couple of months, you definitely want your potential Vezina winning trophy goalie to be standing tall and going toe-to-toe with them to give the team the chance. Because if you end up in a place where it's scrappy, it's lower scoring, the small key things will make the difference. The way he gets the pad out there, the glove save, he's got to be dialed in.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to be feeling pretty good heading into the playoffs. He's been, I mean, him and Sorokin are neck and neck for the Vezina trophy. I mean, Scott Wedgwood belongs in that conversation. Logan Thompson certainly belongs there. There's other guys, but I think it's going to come down to Sorokin and Vasilevsky. Probably going to win the Vezina. It's kind of weird to think about the fact that we need to wonder about him heading into the playoffs, but he certainly could be the biggest X factor. I mean, we saw in the cup runs, he was one of their best players every single night. and he's going to have to continue to do that, especially against a team with as much offense as the Canadiens. Like, we look at some of the teams that they played against in those playoffs, they weren't necessarily offense wasn't their primary way to win games. Sometimes it was shut down. Sometimes it was a physical game. The Canadiens are just young and fast and love to score. So bit of a different test than a lot of the teams that they had faced in the playoffs. So yeah, be interesting to see how Vasilevsky does. What about you, Ryan? What's going to be the biggest X factor for the Montreal Canadiens?
Similar response. I think discipline, in the sense that the Lightning, I believe, had the worst net penalty rating in the league, and the Canadiens had a fairly decent power play at 23.1%. So if the Canadiens can, I mean, we saw it in the last regular season meeting between the two teams when, all due respect to Harris and the Lightning, were kind of running around like idiots. And the Canes, to the Lightning's credit, didn't make them pay like they could have. So that's going to be a narrative, I think, over the course of what's certainly going to be a physically grueling first round series. On top of that, just Dobesh, because his overall stat line may not look like it, but since he took over the number one job from a struggling San Montembeau this year, I have the numbers right over here. He is 10-4 with a .918 save percentage since early March. So those numbers are, over an admittedly small sample size, are better than Vasilevsky's. So if he can keep in the groove that he's dug for himself, the Lightning could be in trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, people always say that playoff games are won on special teams. 5-on-5, anybody can shut down any other team. Every team kind of knows what they're doing at this point. They're here for a reason in the playoffs, at least in the Eastern Conference. The West is a bit shaky this year. But 5-on-5 is what's going to balance out. It's going to come down to how well can your power play produce and how well can your penalty kill clear the zone. And yeah, like you said, the Lightning take a lot of penalties. They have a pretty bad differential on that. And the Canadiens have a good power play, and they have lots of potential to, like, they've got 5 guys on the ice at all times on the power play that can easily score in any given moment. So, yeah, keeping an eye on the special teams is going to be huge for this series. So we talked about a lot of different things, the X factors, what's it going to be. But Ryan, what are going to be the keys to victory? What's the kind of the checklist that Marty St. Louis is going to have to go through and say, this is what we're going to have to do. This is how we're going to beat this team, because it's a pretty daunting task to go up against the Lightning in the playoffs. It's an intimidating opponent.
I think the Canadiens have that intimidation factor in check, just by virtue of the fact the Canadiens took the season series with 2 wins. Sorry. Well, I mean, they had 2 wins, 1 regulation loss and 1 overtime loss, so technically even. But the Canadiens know that they can beat the Lightning, whether or not they do or not. It's going to come down to goaltending and special teams, which is kind of a cliched answer, but it's the truth. Like, because of the nature of the series, it's going to be high scoring, in my opinion. And Dobish is just going to have to outplay Vasilevsky. If he doesn't, the Lightning win. Pure appearance of, and I don't know what the chances of that are. I don't think they're good, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about intimidation. Dobish, young rookie goalie going up against Vasilevsky head-to-head. And, like, this whole episode, we've been talking about the similarities between the two teams, and that's going to be the biggest difference is Vasilevsky is one of the most proven goaltenders in the league, and then Dobish is just breaking in. Obviously, Montreal is a market that has a ton of pressure. He's going to be feeling that. He's going to be feeling the weight of that. Vasilevsky's pretty lucky. I understand that Tampa Bay is becoming a great hockey market and the fans love the team and everything. It's objective that the media is not as tough on the players as it is up in Canada, especially a city like Montreal where hockey means almost everything to everybody there. So it'll be really interesting. And there was something about Dobish not speaking to media a few weeks ago, and whether that was a team decision.
That was a falsehood.
Was it? I didn't end up following up on that. I now that we're talking about it, I just kind of remembered about it. But Even still, like the media is daunting. The pressure is huge in a city like Montreal. So really excited to see how Dobish performs. He's been really fun to watch all year. It's a good story. Could be in contention for the Calder, but probably not. I wouldn't even say he finishes highest on the list on his own team. So we'll see how he does in the playoffs. What about you, Harrison? What's it going to take for the Tampa Bay Lightning to beat the Montreal Canadiens?
I almost had to follow up with some of the same cliche answers just because that's just the case for both teams. I'm also going to throw in playing clean hockey. Just like, Ryan, you mentioned the penalty minutes. When you look at it, yeah, they lead and it's not even, second place, I believe, is the Bruins. It's not even close. The difference is a couple hundred penalty minutes. And I don't know what it is if you take out the Battle of Florida games, but I'm sure they're still pretty high up there if you were to subtract them. So as good as the Lightning penalty kill is, you don't necessarily want more pressure on than you already have, especially when there's that mental trying to get back over that first round hump. I'd also argue a key to victory is just take Montreal seriously. Like, I know that there was the season series was even, and Montreal is a rather inexperienced playoff team. They're a very good team. Caulfield has 50 goals. We mentioned already Suzuki with 100 points. The goaltending has been very good. It's a great young team. It's very close to what the Lightning were 10 years ago in 2015. Coincidentally, what woke them up was being swept by Montreal the year before. But just know that just making sure that they do the homework, taking the team seriously, is going to be a huge key to that victory. They're not throttling teams the way they used to. They need to make sure they really hunker down and get the job done.
Yeah, the whole Eastern Conference is that way right now. You can't take any of these teams lightly. You could look at the kind of weakest series, and that's Pittsburgh and Philly. I don't think that's a weak series at all. Like, Pittsburgh has been a wagon this year, and Philly, young, exciting, same as Montreal. Philly's in a very similar position. I think one thing that will give Montreal the advantage here is something completely unmeasurable, and that's vibes. They're just going to be feeling so good heading into these playoffs. Obviously, they were there last year, kind of got them to temper themselves. They know what to expect now. Most of this team is returning from last year. They're just excited. And it's not just like we're happy to be here. It's look how good we are, and we're going to keep going. We are a young team. Every day we're getting better. With Tampa, it's going to be, all right, we know what to do to get to the finals. I think they need to backtrack a little bit and worry about getting to the second round before the finals. And that kind of counterintuitive on what the point of the playoffs is, but you have to beat the best to be the best, and you have to take every series seriously. That was quite the tongue twister there. So, Harrison, who is going to be the series MVP? And this doesn't have to be someone from Tampa if you don't think it's going to be someone from Tampa. Trend when we ask this question is usually the homer pick. You're going to take somebody from the team you cover. But who do you think is going to be the best player in the series?
I am actually going to jump to the other side here and go with a Montreal player. I actually do think it's going to be Dobish. Maybe it's because I'm a big goalie guy in general, and I'm someone who fully subscribes to the idea that a hot goalie wins team Stanley Cups. Yep. And with the way he's been playing, I think if they get past the Lightning, it's going to be because of the goalie. So I'm going to go with Jacob Dobish.
I like it. I like the pick. Ryan, what about you? Who's going to be the MVP of the series?
Vasilevsky.
Is that what you think?
Yeah.
That's fair. Both goalies, whoever wins, it's probably going to be because of the goalie.
I agree.
Yeah. For me, I think... Kucherov is the easy answer. He's the best player of both teams. But you referred to Harrison. You referred to his struggles over the last 3 years, at least goal scoring wise. He's still, it's not like I'm going to say I don't want him on my team if we're going into the playoffs, but just be nice to see kind of what level of production he can do in this first round before claiming him as the MVP. I think I'm going to go with Juraj Slafkovsky. Wow. I love Slafkovsky's game. As somebody who covers Ottawa, of course, big fan of Brady Tkachuk. I see a lot of similarities there. Not quite to the extent with the physicality, but it's there. Like the potential is there for Slafkovsky to play that physical game. The production is there. There's no question about him now. Took him a little bit to get to the point of like he's finished the season with 73 points this year. Took him a bit to get there, but he's arrived. Proud fantasy owner, leading me to the championship this year. So yeah, Slafkovsky's going to be my pick as the MVP. Now for series predictions, Ryan, who is going to win this round and face either the Boston Bruins or Buffalo Sabres in round 2?
I'm going to say Lightning in 7.
Lightning in 7. Harrison, what about you?
Yeah, I'm also going to go Lightning in 7.
I'm going to go Montreal in 6. I think it's the combination of Dobish and, I mean, like I mentioned, the vibe. They're just going to be feeling so good about themselves. Now, if Tampa gets out to a strong 2-0 lead, like if it's like a 5-1 and a 4-2 or something like that, I think that's going to ruin Montreal's confidence. I think I don't want to say a fragile team because they're not at all, but in the sense of their mindset in this series, I think they could be at risk of being a fragile team. But if they at least split the first 2 games, I think it's Montreal in 6.
I will say, if you allow me, I will say that I think that like home ice advantage came down to a single point. They finished equal in the standings, but Tampa Bay had the regulation wins tiebreaker. I think it works to Montreal's advantage that they're the road team, just because what you alluded to, like all they need to do is split the first 2 games on the road, and all of a sudden they're in the driver's seat, and they can ride that to a huge wave of momentum. If they started off at home, the pressure would be on them to win the 2 games. Now the pressure is off them, so I think that's going to be good for them.
Yeah, it's not easy to go into the Bell Center and win hockey games either. That's one of the most electric buildings in the North America. I was going to say country, but I guess we're talking about 2 countries. But yeah, that'll wrap things up for this series preview. I will be chatting with one of you in a couple of weeks. We'll see which one. But to both of you covering your team, best of luck and enjoy the playoffs. For everybody watching, hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave your comments down below. Let us know who do you think will be the MVP. Let us know your predictions. And make sure to go to thehockeywriters.com and check out Harrison and Ryan's content, as well as the Hockey Writer Substack, where you get the newsletter with all the latest content right to your email. So hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.